I thought I was just popping into his office to surprise him with a bottle of champagne and a stupidly expensive cake when I walked down that hallway in my best dress. I had no idea that by the time I reached his door, the world I'd been so proud of helping him build would shatter in one silent, fluorescent-lit second. I thought I was there to congratulate my husband on the promotion he'd worked so hard for. Instead, I opened the door and found out exactly what and who he'd really been working on. My name is Emily. I'm 33, and for years my husband Ryan and I were the couple everyone pointed to when they talked about making it together. We met in grad school when we were both living on instant noodles and bad coffee, and back then success was a shared fantasy, not a competition. Our tiny apartment had walls so thin I could hear our neighbor's alarm clock through the plaster, and the place always smelled like burnt toast and laundry detergent. We took turns staying up late with our laptops glowing on the wobbly kitchen table, our feet brushing under the chairs, promising each other that one day we'd look back at those nights and laugh. He went into corporate strategy at a big firm. I became a project manager for a mid-sized tech company. For a long time, we were equals. Same alarm, same commute, same tired jokes about office politics. When he got his first promotion, we celebrated with cheap Prosecco and takeout Thai, sitting cross-legged on the floor because we hadn't bought a proper dining table yet. He toasted to us and said, "I couldn't do any of this without you," and I believed him with my whole heart. As the years went by, our life upgraded in small but undeniable ways. The apartment became a townhouse with creaky stairs and a little balcony where I grew herbs in mismatched pots. The wobbly kitchen table became a sleek oak one that smelled faintly of lemon oil when I wiped it down at night. His suits got sharper, his watch more expensive, his phone always buzzing with Slack notifications, and just one more email. I watched him transform into the guy who could hold a room with a PowerPoint slide and a joke about quarterly projections. And I was proud in a way that felt almost physical, like warmth in my chest. The promotion he'd just gotten was the big one, Senior Vice President, the title he'd been chasing for the last 2 years. Those 2 years hadn't been easy. Late nights got later. Weekends got swallowed by urgent decks and client crises. Our dinners turned into me reheating food alone while he sent, "Don't wait up, I'll grab something here," texts at 9:30 p.m. He started traveling more, too. Quick trips that always seemed to land on holidays, birthdays, the kinds of days that make the absence echo louder. At first, I chalked it up to ambition. Everyone at his level was stretched thin, he said. "This is temporary," he'd reassure me, dropping his bag on the chair at midnight, his tie loosened, cheeks rough with stubble. "Once I get this promotion, things will calm down. We'll take that trip, remember? Greece. You and me, I swear." I wanted to believe him, so I did. The small warning signs snuck in quietly, like drafts under a door. The new cologne that didn't smell like the one I'd bought him. The way he started leaving his phone face down on the counter instead of tossed anywhere. The way he'd step into the hallway to take certain calls, his voice dropping low, his laugh becoming a different texture, lighter, younger. I'd come out of the bedroom and he'd say, "It's just Mark. Can you believe what he did in the meeting?" and offer me a quick kiss, a diversion. Once, I picked up his jacket from the back of a chair and caught a scent that didn't belong to me or to his office, something floral and sharp, expensive, clinging to the fabric near his shoulder. I stood there in our dim hallway, fingertips pressed into the wool, telling myself it could be a coworker's perfume from a crowded elevator, from a hug. Offices are small worlds. Smells cling. It meant nothing. It had to mean nothing. We talked less and less about anything that wasn't his work. My updates about my own projects, about annoying clients and looming deadlines, seemed to bounce off him like pebbles off glass. He'd nod, say, "You'll handle it, you always do," and pivot back to his latest pitch, his latest win, his latest frustration about a colleague who didn't understand the bigger picture. Somewhere along the way, "we" turned into "I" in his sentences. When the email about his promotion came in, he called me the second the meeting ended. His voice crackled through the line, buzzing with adrenaline. "I got it," he said. "Emily, I got it. SVP. It's official." I was standing in the break room at my office, holding a mug that still smelled of coffee and dish soap. The hum of the refrigerator and the muted voices from the open floor blurred into the background. "That's amazing," I said, grinning so hard my cheeks hurt. "I'm so proud of you." "We're going out tonight," he said. "The team organized a little thing at the office. Drinks, speech, you know how it is. I'll be late, but we'll properly celebrate this weekend, okay? I'll make a reservation. Somewhere nice." "Of course," I said, the familiar disappointment nudging at my ribs. "You deserve it." After we hung up, I stared into my mug and watched the traces of coffee swirl in the bottom. A thought slid in, quick and reckless. You don't have to wait for the weekend. You could go there, to his office, tonight. It felt silly at first, childish, something a girlfriend would do, not a wife of nearly 8 years. But the more I tried to shrug it off, the more it took root. I imagined his face when I walked in with a bottle of champagne and that cake from the bakery he loved, the one with the buttercream that tasted absurdly like childhood birthdays. I pictured his colleagues clapping, teasing him about his supportive wife, him putting an arm around me and saying, "Couldn't have done it without her." The fantasy made my chest ache. But underneath the longing was something sharper, a need to see with my own eyes what his world looked like these days, to step into the place that had slowly swallowed him. I left my office an hour early, claiming a headache, and stopped by the bakery on the corner. The air inside was warm, filled with the smells of sugar and yeast and coffee. Glass display cases gleamed under soft lights, lined with cakes like tiny sculptures. I picked a simple one, dark chocolate with a thin gold "Congratulations" plaque. It felt right for him, understated but proud. Then I went to the liquor store and chose a decent bottle of champagne. Not the cheap stuff we used to drink, not the overly precious vintage he liked to brag about. Something in the middle, something that said, "I know you," even if lately I wasn't sure I did. The office building looked different at night. During the day, it was all glass and steel and constant motion. Now, under the city lights, it had a colder glow, a giant aquarium filled with rectangular floors instead of water, each one a world behind glass. I could see silhouettes moving on his floor, clumps of people, the flicker of a large monitor in a conference room. The lobby smelled faintly of cleaning products and expensive lobby perfume, that neutral, vaguely citrus scent designed to offend no one and impress everyone. The receptionist recognized me and smiled. "He's on the 12th, she said, nodding toward the elevator. "Big night." "Big night," I repeated, hugging the cake box closer to my chest. The elevator hummed softly as it climbed. My heart beat in time with the numbers lighting up. 8, 9, 10, 11. I checked my reflection in the polished metal walls, my hair smoothed back, my lipstick intact, my eyes brighter than I felt. At the last second, I fussed with the ribbon on the champagne bag, fingers suddenly clumsy. The doors slid open onto a hallway buzzing with noise. Laughter, clinking glasses, the low thrum of music from someone's portable speaker. The overhead lights were dimmer than usual, softening the rows of desks and glowing screens. Someone had strung a few balloons along the glass wall of the largest conference room, the one they used for big meetings. Through the glass, I could see people milling, drinks in hand, a banner hastily taped along the far wall. "Congrats, Ryan," in slightly crooked letters. I smiled, some of the tension leaking out of my shoulders. This looked exactly like what he'd described, a small office celebration for a hard-working guy who'd made it. I walked down the hallway, my heels clicking on the polished floor, the cake box growing heavier in my arms. As I reached the glass doors of the conference room, one of his co-workers spotted me through the glass. Jamie, a junior analyst I'd met at a couple of holiday parties, waved and hurried over, pushing the door open. "Emily," she said, "you made it. He's going to flip." "He doesn't know I'm here," I confessed, stepping inside. The room smelled like white wine, cologne, and something savory from the catering trays. "Where is he?" She pointed toward the far corner, where a small cluster of people stood near a bar cart. "He was just here for the speech," she said. "Now he's doing the rounds. You know how he is." I nodded. I did. I handed her the cake. "Can you put this somewhere?" She took it with a grin. "You're the best. I'll set it up by the drinks. He just went to grab something from his office, I think. End of the hall, corner office, like a real grown-up now." The end of the hall, corner office. I felt something in my chest twist, a mix of pride and something heavier. "I'll go say hi," I said. The hallway was quieter once I stepped out of the conference room, the door sighing shut behind me. The music faded to a muffled thump. The overhead lights were brighter here, washing the walls in sterile white. My footsteps sounded too loud. Frosted glass panels alternated with framed motivational posters. Drive, vision, integrity. I almost laughed at the irony of that last word. Ryan's new office was at the very end, the last door on the left. A polished plaque with his name and title gleamed beside it. Ryan Clark, Senior Vice President. I traced the letters with my eyes, feeling my throat tighten. The door was mostly closed, the latch just shy of engaged. Light spilled out through the thin gap, along with the faint sound of voices. I lifted my hand to knock, then hesitated as a female laugh floated through. Low, soft, intimate in a way that didn't fit with the stiff corporate corridor. Maybe someone was already in there congratulating him. Maybe a team member. Maybe his boss. It was a big night. His office would be like Grand Central all evening. I told myself I was being ridiculous. I knocked lightly anyway, balancing the champagne bag against my hip. The voices inside dipped, then hushed. No answer. I waited another second. "Ryan?" I called, my voice soft. "It's me." Still nothing. The hair on the back of my neck prickled. My fingers tightened on the bag's handle. There was a faint rustle, a muffled thump, like someone bumping into furniture. Something in me, the part that had been ignoring scents and late-night calls and face-down phones, stopped being polite. I pushed the door open. The first thing I saw was his jacket, crumpled in a heap on the floor near the desk. Ryan never left his clothes like that. He was meticulous, almost fussy, always smoothing, folding, aligning. The sight of that jacket lying there like a shed skin made my stomach drop. The second thing I saw was a pair of legs, bare, pale, wrapped around his waist as he leaned against his own desk. The woman's skirt was bunched around her hips, her blouse half unbuttoned. His hands were on her, his mouth on her neck. For a short, frozen second, they looked like figures in a photograph, perfectly lit by the soft glow of his desk lamp. Then the sound caught up with me, the wet, unmistakable noises of kissing, the little gasps and half-swallowed words. The room smelled like sweat, perfume I didn't recognize, and his cologne layered on top of both. I stood there, halfway over the threshold, the champagne bag knocking softly against my leg, and watched my life break along a line that had been quietly drawn for months. It was the woman who saw me first. Over his shoulder, her eyes flicked to the doorway and widened, her lips parting. She pushed at his chest. "Ryan," she hissed. "Ryan." He pulled back, annoyed. "What?" Then he turned his head and saw me. For a heartbeat, we just stared at each other. His shirt was unbuttoned, his tie hanging loose around his neck. His hair, usually so perfectly styled, was mussed in a way I'd always thought was sexy. Now it looked ridiculous, almost pathetic. A boy caught playing dress-up as a powerful man. "M," he said. The nickname sounded wrong in his mouth, foreign. "What are you—" The champagne bag slipped from my fingers and hit the carpet with a soft thud. The bottle inside clinked dully against the floor. The sound snapped something in the silence. "I came to congratulate you," I heard myself say. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded far away, flat. "On your promotion." He straightened, shoving the woman's legs down. She hurriedly tugged her skirt back into place, fingers fumbling with the hem. The flush on her neck spread to her cheeks. "Emily, let me explain," he started, stepping toward me. I took a step back, out into the hallway again, needing distance, needing air. The fluorescent light suddenly felt too bright, buzzing in my ears. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it might break through. "Explain what?" I asked. My vision blurred for a second, then sharpened unnaturally. "That you were celebrating early?" He opened his mouth, closed it. Behind him, the woman, a brunette I vaguely recognized from a holiday party, a marketing manager maybe, smoothed her hair, not quite meeting my eyes. "It's not what it looks like," he said. The cliché was so absurd I almost laughed. "It is exactly what it looks like," I replied. My hands were shaking now, fine tremors running up my arms. I curled my fingers into fists to hide it. "You're cheating on me, in your office, while everyone is out there toasting your big night." He looked over his shoulder, as if just now remembering there were other people in the world beyond this room. The music from the conference room thumped faintly through the wall. Somewhere, someone laughed loudly, oblivious. "It just happened," he murmured, the wind going out of him. "We've been working late, there's been a lot of pressure, and you and I have been off, and—" "And what?" I cut in. The calmness in my tone surprised me. It was as if my body had gone numb and left my voice untouched. "Your body fell onto hers by accident? Your clothes jumped off on their own?" He flinched. "You don't understand how stressed I've been," he tried again. "This promotion, it's been everything. And you've been distant lately, too. We hardly talk. I felt alone, and she was just there." It was remarkable, really, how quickly he managed to cast himself as the victim. For a second, I saw the whole script unfold. Him, overwhelmed and misunderstood. Me, cold and inattentive. This woman, a mistake born of loneliness. It would have been almost convincing if I hadn't lived through every canceled dinner, every shrugged-off conversation, every night alone on that stupid oak table he never even saw. "You're right," I said slowly. "I don't understand." Relief flickered in his eyes as if he thought I was about to soften. "I don't understand," I continued, "how you can spend months pulling away from me, shutting me out, and then stand here half-dressed with another woman and say you felt alone." He opened his mouth, but I kept going, the dam inside me finally cracking. "I've been in that house by myself more nights than I can count, reheating food you never came home to eat. I've listened to you rant about work until you ran out of words and fell asleep mid-sentence. And when I tried to talk about anything of mine, you checked your email. I've asked if you were okay and watched you look right through me. If anyone has the right to say they felt alone in our marriage, it's me, Ryan, not you. You weren't alone. You were just bored." The words came out clean, like they'd been honed in the back of my mind over countless quiet hurts, waiting for this moment. He ran a hand through his rumpled hair, fingers shaking. "Em, please," he said, "let's not do this here. Come home with me, we'll talk. It was a mistake. It doesn't mean anything. I was going to tell you, You were going to tell me what?" I asked. "Before or after I spent the weekend planning a celebration for you? Before or after our next 'we'll go to Greece someday' conversation?" Behind him, the other woman finally spoke, her voice small. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to." I turned my gaze on her. For a second, I saw past the smeared lipstick and the guilty eyes and recognized something else. The way she'd probably heard him talk about his difficult marriage, his unsupported dreams. I wondered what version of me he'd given her. The nagging wife, the unambitious one, the dead weight. "You owe that apology to yourself more than to me," I told her. "He'll tell you this was a mistake, that you're special, that it happened because he feels so much. And then, if you're lucky, he'll do this to you too someday." Her face crumpled. Ryan shot me a look. Something between anger and panic. "Okay, that's enough," he said. "You're upset, I get it. But you don't have to. I came here with a cake," I said, my voice cutting across his. "Do you know how pathetic that sounds now? I left work early, spent half an hour picking out something you'd like because I was proud of you, because I remembered every all-nighter we pulled at that wobbly kitchen table and thought, we did it, we got here." My throat tightened. I swallowed it down, refusing to let the tears fall. "Not here, not in his office. But looking at you now," I went on, "I realize I was wrong. We didn't get here. I did the work of us. You did the work of you." For a moment, none of us spoke. The overhead lights hummed. A printer whirred somewhere down the hall. Time felt strange, thick and slow, like honey. I stepped back another inch, my hand falling to the door handle. "I'm not going to make a scene in front of your team," I said. "Not tonight. This is your big night, remember? You've been chasing this title for years. Enjoy it. Emily, but understand something very clearly." I held his gaze, feeling that cold, sharp click inside that signaled the end of a chapter. "This isn't going away in the morning. This doesn't get smoothed over with a bouquet and an 'I made a mistake.' I walked into your office to celebrate your success and walked out with the truth, and I'm not going to unknow it just because you're scared now." He took a step toward me, hand half raised. "Just don't tell anyone yet," he said. "Please, let me control the narrative. If people hear that my marriage is falling apart the same night I get promoted, it'll—" I stared at him. Of course. Even now, his first instinct was to protect his image. "You're worried about optics," I said slowly. "Not about me. Not about what you've done. About optics." "I care about you," he protested. "You know I do. This is just complicated." "No," I said. "Complicated is choosing between two job offers. Complicated is figuring out how to balance work and family. This is simple. You cheated in your office while your coworkers were stringing balloons with your name on them." His shoulders slumped. For the first time that night, he looked small to me. Not powerful, not impressive, just small. "I'm going home," I said. "When you get back, your things will be in the guest room. Tomorrow, I'll call a lawyer. We'll talk through them from now on." His face crumpled. "Come on, Emily. That's extreme. Let's not throw everything away over one mistake." "One mistake?" I repeated. "Is that what we're calling months of lies now? One mistake?" I shook my head. "You already threw it away," I said quietly. "You just happen to do it on the same desk where you sign your contracts." I walked away then, past the crumpled jacket on the floor, past the motivational posters, past the conference room where his colleagues laughed and clinked glasses around a table that now held a carefully piped chocolate cake with his name on it. One of them raised a hand as if to call me over, then seemed to think better of it when they saw my face. In the elevator, the metallic walls reflected a version of me I barely recognized. Eyes too bright, jaw clenched, mouth pressed into a flat line. The smell of frosting and champagne clung faintly to my clothes, sickly sweet. On the street, the cold air hit me like a slap. The city roared around me. Traffic, voices, the distant wail of a siren. And for a moment, I felt untethered, like I could float up and away, out of sight, out of this life. Instead, I went home. Our townhouse was dark when I unlocked the door. The hallway smelled like lemon oil and the faint trace of his cologne on the coat rack. I slipped off my shoes, the floor cool under my bare feet, and walked into the kitchen. The oak table sat where it always did, solid, indifferent. I ran my hand along its edge, feeling every groove, every tiny dent from years of dropped forks and clumsy elbows. I could have sat there and cried for hours. Instead, I opened the cabinet where we kept the files, tax returns, warranties, contracts. I pulled out the folder with our mortgage, our marriage license, the prenuptial agreement we'd signed when we were young and thought we were being practical. I spread the papers out on the table, the way we used to spread out notes for exams. Then I took a pen and a yellow sticky note and wrote in small, neat letters, "Call lawyer." I stuck it to the top of the stack. Only after that did I let myself sit down and feel it. The betrayal. The stupid, hopeful image of me walking into that office with a cake. The 12 versions of our future I'd held in my head. Vacations. Maybe kids someday if we figured it out. Growing old together with more wrinkles and more stories. He'd rewritten all of them without telling me. Tonight was just when I caught up to the edit. The next day, I made the calls. Some conversations were clinical, retainer agreements, consultation times, documents needed. Others were messy. My best friend's kitchen, the sound of coffee brewing, and her soft, furious exclamations. My voice shaking as I recounted the scene in his office in more detail than I'd allowed myself to replay in my own head. My mother's hesitant, "Are you sure it can't be fixed?" And my quiet, "I'm sure." When Ryan came home that night, the guest room was neatly stacked with his suit jackets, his folded shirts, his cufflink box on the dresser. The master bedroom looked eerily spacious without his side of the closet filled. He walked in, took it all in, and for once had nothing to say. In the weeks that followed, he tried. Of course he did. Late-night texts, flowers I left wilting in their vases until I threw them out. Long emails outlining his stress, his regrets, his love for me, his fear of losing everything. But the image of him in that office, half-dressed, flanked by his framed diploma, and the skyline view he'd once said he wanted to share with me, had seared itself into my mind. No amount of words could overwrite it. We went through the motions: mediation, asset division, the dull, grinding machinery of ending a life you've built around another person. At work, his promotion stuck. The firm cared more about his numbers than his personal life. At mine, I quietly requested to switch to a different project that would, coincidentally, put me on the other coast for a while. Fresh start, new time zone, fewer ghosts. Months later, in a different office building, in a different city, I found myself walking down another long hallway. This one smelled like fresh paint and new carpet. I carried no cake, no champagne, just a mug of coffee and a stack of reports. My own name was on the door now, a little printed plaque. Emily Hart, Project Lead. It was a smaller title than his had been, maybe. It didn't come with a corner office, but it was mine. Sometimes people ask, casually, if I still follow his career on LinkedIn, if I saw the article about his promotion in some trade magazine. I just shrug. It's not that I don't remember him. You don't erase nearly a decade that easily. It's that now, when I think of promotions, I don't picture fancy titles and awkward office parties. I picture myself in that hallway, the moment before I opened his door, still believing the night was about us. And then I picture the version of me who walked away instead of swallowing it. I went to his office to celebrate the biggest night of his career and caught him cheating. The real promotion that night wasn't his, it was mine. I got elevated out of the role of the woman who made excuses for him and into the one where I choose the life I'm willing to be loyal to. This time, the only person I'm congratulating is myself.